Hi all, my name is Gagandeep and I have recently completed project 2, part of the intermediate Splunk deployment project series. Let me share my screen. So this project is all about configuring a this project is all about configuring a clustered Splunk environment wherein three indexers and three search heads, right, which are indexer is the storage component, and search head is the Splunk component wherein we fire the queries, right, to get meaningful information. So basically the idea is to create a clustered Splunk environment with three indexers and three search heads on top of the management server, which also acts like the license manager and the deployment manager. So on so this is the overall component architecture that we have within the project. So idea is to deploy a clustered environment, and in Splunk, port number 8000 is used for the web UI, be it for the indexer, be it for the manager, or any other UI for that matter, right? So the web UI uh, port is 8000. For example, if you want to access the management server, right, or management UI, then type in http colon double slash followed by the IP address, public IP address of the management server, colon and port number 8000. Likewise, if you want to open search ad, indexer, or any other UI for that matter, right, then the same approach needs to be followed. Uh, Port number 8000 for the web UI, port number 9997 is used for uh, forwarding information from or logs, right, or any logs or any raw data from the universal forwarder or forwarder to the indexer. And port number 8089 is used for communication between the components, any activity which is going to happen between the Splunk components. For example, search has to indexer to universal forwarder, vice versa, right? So that would any management communication would happen over the port number 8089. So in this specific project, right, apart from deploying these Splunk components like indexer or search heads in the clustered environment, right, uh, uh, the idea is to integrate the Jenkins application, right, which is nothing but the deployment pipeline in a typical company. Integrate Jenkins as a data source or platform, right, over uh, the Splunk platform. And obviously GitHub is a repository, right, wherein the application data is stored, right, the data that we're going to be folders within the GitHub application, which are we going to deploy, right, over the deployer, right, that is there in GitHub. So we're going to be integrating Jenkins and GitHub. uh, there is a specific add-on, right, for GitHub that we're going to be deploying in the project. And apart from that, the very last use case part of this project is doing the SAML and single sign-on integration by using the Okta identity and access management platform. So this is the overall project overview. Create the clustered Splunk environment. Make sure that the cluster manager has all the indexers and the searchers listed, and all the indexers and searchers, right, they are in the cluster, and the cluster uh, manager as well as the overall clustering work finds. The idea behind creating multiple indexers and indexers is to make sure that if somehow one indexer fails, right, the storage can be done on the indexer 2 or indexer 3 based on the availability. There is no single point of failure. um, Search it, as we know, it is used to uh, write queries, right, or fire queries on uh, the search ad and reporting app, right? So we fire the queries over there. So that is the function of the search ad. And even search ad is a very important component. Without the clustering, if we have a non-clustered environment, one search ad, right? Or let's say even more than one search ad. If they are not there in search, if they are not there in clustering, right? There won't be any high availability or failover kind of mechanism wherein search head 2 would be taking care of the queries and the load on the Splunk platform overall. So during the project deployment, I have you know deployed this many servers, right? This many servers are part of the overall Softmania lab. So we have three indexers, one management server obviously, and there is one intermittent heavy forwarder. There is a cluster master who would be taking care of all the clusters, be it the indexers or be it the search head. And on top of that, there is a Jenkins Linux machine. Majority all these servers, right? All these components, they are on running on the RHL environment, RHL operating system, including the one for Jenkins. Uh, so during the project, let me walk you through what I did, during the implementation. Uh, as a part of the prerequisites, all these machines or servers should be available, which was available by default in the project 2 package part of the Softmania labs, right? So I bounced those machines as you see uh, over here. So overall, there are around 10 servers, 9 specific to the Splunk environment, Splunk components, and one for the Jenkins. So during the implementation, I deployed the license manager by using my newly requested dev license for Splunk. I configured the monitoring console, indexer cluster, search ad cluster as well, and the forwarders, all these Splunk components. Um, so if you talk about the license manager, all the steps were followed. Uh, so I would go to settings and licensing to showcase about the licenses. So this license, as you see, right, the developer license was deployed right over uh, the Splunk Enterprise platform. As you see, the license category is showing over here as well. It is utilizing my dev license, and it is valid till January 2027. It is every dev license is valid for a period of around 6 months, right? So it would expire in January next year. So the license manager, was configured. The manager server and license manager, right? They are on the same instance. The deployer server is part of the same management server instance as well. So there are multiple roles on the machine wherein the management server is deployed, right? So it includes the license manager as well as the management server. So likewise, I can go to settings, licensing, and all indexer details as well. I'll see all license details is here. So basically, the entitlement in terms of licenses is part of this option, and I would click on all indexer details as well to showcase. So basically, these are the pool names, right, which are connected. I'll show you about the indexers, in with a different option. Let me walk you through, the other pieces. So basically, after deploying the license manager, monitoring console, index. So monitoring control is deployed, right? As you see, I am able to log in over here. So it is deployed. It was, and same goes for the index cluster, search cluster, and forwarders as well. The forwarding was enabled from the heavy forwarders, right? Um, to the indexers. But though, there is not much in terms of forwarding, right, in this specific project. So after, deploying all the Splunk components, I connected all the tiers, including, the cluster manager. There is a lot of steps, right, which are mentioned over here, right, in the documentation. I connected all the components, right. Basically, during this process, we need to connect the cluster manager with all the indexers, cluster manager with all the search heads, and search head one was made as the captain of the search cluster, the primary search head, right? Um, and all the other configurations were done, right? All the connectivity between the components was done during this step, and the main aim was to make sure that we have the clustering enabled, right? So I will show you that the clustering is enabled. So if I go to the cluster manager, right, and if I fire this command, Splunk, I'm in the opt Splunk bin directory on the cluster master, right, cluster manager. And if I fire this command, it would show me the cluster status. See, the replication factor of 3, right, is met, and search factor of 2 is met as well. And all data is searchable on the clustering, and we do have, 3 indexers, 1, 2, 3, right, with the details listed over here. We can see that in the management console as well. I'll show you. If I go to settings and distributed search, right, and search page, that would be the overall pairs, right, within the cluster master, right. So we have one cluster master over here. This is the IP and the details. And apart from that, there are 6 more servers, 3 indexes, as you see, IDX123 and SH123, which are the search heads. So all this are part of the same cluster, right, which is reflecting on the command line as well, at least for the cluster master indexer, right. And these 3 servers are in cluster. Cluster master is the one which is controlling this cluster, right. And under the search head one, right, which is the captain, if I fire the search head cluster command, status command, right, then I can see that search head 1, 2, and 3 are up, right. They are up. The IPs are listed over here as well. So with this, search heads are components, right, Splunk components, and for communication, 8089 port is used amongst themselves. uh, there is another command that I can show, right, which would describe the in just a moment, I'll show you. So I think it is already shown, right, that we have. If I fire the cluster command from the captain search ad one, I can see that the within the cluster there are 3 search ads, right. So this is listed as the sh1 is the captain, which is the search ad one, and I've fired the Splunk shows search ad cluster command over here, which proves that these 3 search ads are in the cluster. Moreover, in the UI as well, right, we could see that the cluster master is there, and these 3 indexers and search ads are linked to it. So basically, the clustering worked fine, and we were able to see that on the console as well as on the search ad one, right, and we could see that on the cluster master as well, that all the indexers are linked as a cluster, all 3 indexers, and we have the replication factor enabled over here, right, and the search factor as well for the search head. So After this, within the project too, we spoke about all the activities. After connecting all the tiers, the next step was to deploy Jenkins, right, application. So I followed all the steps to deploy the Jenkins application, and this is the Jenkins portal, right, with the latest IP that we have for the Jenkins server. As you see, uh, the application is deployed over here. It is in green status, and when I uh, did build now, right, or when I checked the connectivity of this application last time, it was working fine. Let's go to the console output to showcase. So basically, once we fire this, right, the application Jenkins pushes, the application that we need to deploy on the deployer server. There is a SSH connection which is established from the Jenkins server to the deployer server, and all the folders and data that we have on the GitHub repository, right? Bin default, all this, right? This package is this Softmania infra monitoring, folders. They are linked to Jenkins. They are pushed to the deployer server from the Jenkins server. As you see, the connection SSH connection was established from Jenkins to the management server, and all the commands that we have listed in the last step, right? I'll show you during the Jenkins configuration, right? I'll show you. They were fired on the Jenkins server. So these are the commands that we have listed, right? Finally, while creating the Jenkins project. So they were successful. The connection, the application push from Jenkins to the management server was successful as well. And if I go to, you could see that on over here as well, right? And the overall status of the application, right? I'll show you the overall status of the application over here is green as well. Let's wait for the dashboard to come back so that I can show you the deployment status one more time. The Jenkins, yeah. So deploying Splunk app from GitHub, right? So basically, GitHub is linked with the Jenkins account. Via Jenkins, we pushed, the packages and the commands to the deployment server. They were fired, and uh, that's the reason why the package was deployed. We can see the application is successfully deployed. It is in green status. Uh, So, if I go to the management server, right, under the OPT Splunk etc deployment tabs, right, we have a directory named Softmania Infra Monitoring, which is same as the one that we have right on GitHub, from where the linkage between with Jenkins is there, right? So if I go to the management server, right, backend instance. You can see that under the OPT Splunk etc deployment apps and Softmania infra monitoring folder, right? All these folders are created already. This package from GitHub, right? It is pushed via the Jenkins. So that is what I did as a part of this project, right? I'd be sharing the screenshots as well of the important milestones within the project, along with this video. As far as the single sign-on, is concerned, uh, it was working fine. I recorded the video as well yesterday while the single sign-on was working. But once I stopped and started this, I stopped the service. Right, stopped the management server after recording the single sign-on video yesterday. The IP was changed, and that's the reason why it wasn't working this morning. But I did this step as well. It is recorded in uh, the form of a video, which I'll be uploading along with the other evidences. So basically, in the single sign-on, Okta is used as the identity an access management solution. We do quite a few steps over there for doing enabling the single sign-on. Uh, we go to the authentication.conf. We do a lot of config changes on the portal, the management server UI, right? The management UI as well as the backend to enable this. And thereafter, once the SAML and once single sign-on works, right? Then once we type in the HTTP colon double slash IP address colon 8000, right? That URL, right, for the management server with the existing IP. Then there won't be any the system, the UI won't be asking for the username and password. It would directly log in to the homepage of the management server UI. So I've recorded that in a video and I'll be uploading it. So thank you. It was a great learning altogether in this project. There were few issues while doing, deploying the Jenkins. You know, uh, it was mainly about changing the IPs and doing the SSH connectivity check. Somehow the SSH connectivity wasn't working from the Jenkins server to the management or deployer server earlier. But we did some changes. We troubleshooted that and we were able to fix it. So thank you, Varsha, for all your help. uh, while I was stuck, right, with the step. Apart from that, I don't think that there was any other challenge. Connectivity between the Jenkins and the management server was the only piece, right, wherein I was stuck, which is the reason why this build now wasn't working. So once the connectivity was resolved, right, and I tried doing the build now a few times, it worked. That reflects on the deployment page as well. I'll show you. See, there were quite a few build now, failures, but after some time, once we resolved the SSH connectivity between Jenkins and the management server, it was fine. Could run. Thank you.